Okay, we're on a typical day trip in lower Oakland Bay, and the mission quickly changed to plastic patrol. We'll go ashore and pick up some plastic debris off of the beach. I'm heading up there because I spotted something up in that snag, and I found something more than the one I spotted, which I'm coming up on right now. Now this thing that's half buried in the sand is a fine mesh heavy plastic oyster bag. Now they put baby oysters in there and grow them to their full size, and this one obviously got loose and got washed up on the beach. It's full of sand and gravel, and I can't even budge it. Need a shovel. I'll have to cut it to get the gravel out, and then I could probably jerk it out. Now down here in this snag is what we call a shellfish bag. And this is a fine mesh expandable net bag. Now these things will expand to the size of a gunny sack when they're totally loaded with shellfish. They're used to take the seed out to the beds, and they're also used to bring the finished product back. And there I stuck my hand in it so you can see the kind of material it's made out of. These things are literally all over the place. Now there's a little something else hanging over here which I'm going to pick up on the way back. And what it is, it's the top of a net bag like the one I just picked up. There it is. Now you see this type of bag comes in 100-foot rolls. And what they do is they tie a knot in one end, pull as much as they want off of the roll, cut it off, fill it up, and then you tie a knot in the other end. And there's your bag, however much you want. And to get the stuff out of the bag, they just take a knife and slice off the one end. So there's all these little short lengths drifting all over because they probably blow over the sides of the boat when they're running back and forth at full throttle. Now I'm going to take a look at something else over here. Now my friend who is a geoduck farmer has informed me that this type of gear and most of the crap we've been picking up has been totally outlawed. And also all gear now has to be marked with the name of the owner and the license holder. Yep, it's another end of a mesh bag. So he says that this stuff hasn't been used for many, many years, but it is still in use. And he says that it's used by the tribal oyster outfits because they are not covered by regulations, and also they don't have to be licensed. Now you stuff him down the hole in the foredeck there and continue on. Okay, Lee spotted something in the water, and she's going to fish it out. Yeah, what you got there? Okay, it's a disc marker. These are used to mark shellfish beds, or they used to be, and they are a plastic disc with a slot and a spike down the middle, and they would pound them on the top of pipes, marking the beds on the tide flats. And now it's Lee's turn. She's spotted something on the beach, and she's going to go in and take a look at it and see if she can yard it out of there. South Sound is one of the greatest kayaking destinations there is. Many, many miles of sheltered, calm waters. Now out she goes. Get the boat turned around, get squared away. Come on down and kayak in South Sound. It's a spray skirt free zone. You can go get yourself in trouble if you want, if you really work at it. There are many, many acres, probably hundreds if not thousands of acres of shellfish beds in the shallow inlets of South Puget Sound. Some are commercial, some are tribal. Oh, she's going up there to take a look, and now she's tugging on something. It's obviously partially buried in the sand. Looks like she's getting it to come out. Rip, there it comes. Okay, lady, what you got? Another shellfish bag. I actually use some of these around the rock shop, so a lot of them I use for dry land use. They don't go back in the water once I get them. Most of them I throw away. I also use them for collecting my own shellfish when they're in season. Okay, now here is a big one. Now this is anti-starfish net. It's laid, or it comes in big rolls about 20 feet wide. This is a scrap that obviously got trimmed off after covering a bed. Its function is to keep starfish from wiping out the young planted oysters and clams. There could be acres covered with this stuff until they get big enough to be on their own. Now, eagles like to land on the beach, and they get their talons stuck in this stuff. At low tide, of course, when the tide's out, eagles land out there. You know how they like tide flats, looking for food. And they get their talons stuck in this stuff, and then they suffer an excruciating, slow drowning death as the tide comes back in because they can't get out of them. What am I going to do with this thing? Well, there's one thing to do. I'm going to roll it up and put a bungee cord around it and strap it to my aft deck. I probably could have got it to fit underneath my below decks in the stern compartment, but the stuff was kind of smelly, so I didn't want to put it in there. There could be acres covered with this stuff. And when it does get loose, it just barely floats. It floats just barely on the surface, and it can foul your propeller. It's hazardous to boats also. Now I'm rolling her up, getting ready to haul it out. Now, a lot of the crap we find is not all oyster industry stuff. There's the usual polypropylene rope, which is used all over the world and is a worldwide problem for entangling sea life. They're showing off the big catch. There he is. And there's a lot of that everywhere. Like I say, that stuff is worldwide and it's all over the oceans. It's used from everything for water skiers to sailboaters to who knows what. And there's the roll of starfish net strapped to the back of the boat. Now here's a bad one. This is another piece of the anti-starfish net, which is hung up in this snag. And it's all over the place. Now I couldn't get this one out because I didn't have my hip waders. I didn't want to go in over the top of my boots, and also I marked this on the GPS so I can come back and get it later. I'll have to bring a pair of snips to cut it in sections to get it untangled from the branches, and maybe bring a pruning saw too and cut a few of the branches off of this snag in order to yard that out of there. I see something else up there. Yep, it's another oyster bag. Now, a lot of the stuff we find, like I say, is not shellfish industry. It's, you know, your usual crap: plastic bottles, plastic bags, six-pack rings, the usual kind of shit that you find all over the place. And now back to the front hatch cover again, and we'll stuff her in there. Cram her down in. And don't forget the polypropylene rope, which I say is a worldwide problem. Not totally attributable to the oyster or the shellfish industry. So that's about it for Plastic Patrol from South Sound. And now we'll take a little look at the catch of the day. Okay, and here you have it, the catch of the day. All plastic, and most of it directly traceable to the shellfish industry, which is the biggest complainer about pollution down here. Got a nice assortment of treasures. Got the usual expandable plastic mesh bags, float, styro float with a piece of rope on it, plastic bed marker discs, ropes, how many and what color, polypropylene rope, and this is the roll of anti-starfish mat, and lots of oyster bags. I think I mentioned earlier, these bags will expand to the size of gunny sacks when they're totally full of shellfish. So there you have it. Brought to you by the shellfish industry that claims to be the miner's canary when it comes to pollution.